Good day. I'm Lateesha with Soul Spread Wisdom, and I have some good buttery bread for you for the soul today. So, we are doing the week ahead. Let's see what the stars have in store for us this week and see how we can best move and use this energy for our lives to take us up higher. So, let's start out with Sunday, August the 16th. Let's see what is happening in the sky. So we have the sun here at 24 degrees of Leo, making a conjunction with Mercury at 23 degrees. The sun and Mercury are making a beautiful trine to Mars here in Leo. And that is something that we are going to see continue on for the next few days. There's going to be a huge help coming up at the new moon. And you can watch my video that I posted. I'm going to have it. You can click in the corner. If it's not in the corner, it'll be down in the description box. And I have the all 12 signs for the new moon in Leo and talking about how dynamic it is and an energy that can push us forward if we take advantage of it. But here on Sunday, the energy is here as well for us to take advantage of, in spite of the fact that we are going through the squares between Jupiter and Pluto and Saturn in the sign of Capricorn, making this square to Mars. We still have a really positive energy that we can utilize to push things forward that we need to accomplish. Though it won't be easy, we still have energy to push it forward. We have the moon in the sign of Cancer on Sunday at 22 degrees, making an opposition to all three of these major players that have been causing so much upset all year long. That is Jupiter, Pluto, and Saturn in the sign of Capricorn conjunct. So we have these huge, powerful players, these heavy hitters here, making an opposition to the moon. So for us, this could be bringing in a feeling of, just discomfort, power struggles where you want to feel comfortable, where you want to feel at ease. Cancer is about having stability. Cancer is about being with family. Cancer is about nurturing and safety. And with these big three making an opposition on Sunday to the moon, there could be this feeling of a threat, feeling threatened as far as safety and as far as family is concerned, and power struggles as it relates to a family member, as it relates to the mother. This could play out where our mother may be experiencing some challenges, where the government could be challenging your mother. Maybe some money that your mother should be receiving. Maybe mom is supposed to be receiving her Social Security check, or she is supposed to be receiving some kind of help from an institution, or Medicaid, Medicare, some kind of service provider, something of this nature. And it could be a power struggle happening with mom, or it could be happening with you. So this is something that you could feel coming in, but just this uneasy feeling of safety. There could be something that happens within the government. There could be some new law or something that comes down through the pike, and then on Sunday, just hearing about it, hearing the news of it, causes this feeling of us as a collective feeling unsafe. Okay, so that is what we have for Sunday. Okay, Monday, August the 17th, we have the moon. The moon will be at 10 degrees of Leo here. In this chart, it's at 6 degrees because I drew up the chart for 12 noon, but later on in the day, it will be at 10 degrees, making an exact square to Uranus that is in the sign of Taurus, retrograde at 10 degrees. So the moon in the sign of Leo making this square to Taurus can lead us to feel, because the moon is all about our emotions, where we feel safe, where we feel most comfortable. So when you pay attention to the moon as it transits, so the moon changes signs every 2.5 days. So if you pay attention to your emotions, as the moon and her movements are tied to your emotion, you will notice when the moon changes signs, it can affect your emotions where you feel more bold. Like in the sign of Leo, when the moon moves into Leo, you may feel more bold and more brave and more comfortable being outspoken and being seen and performing and so forth. And so when we have this square to Uranus, there is a shock because Uranus brings in lightning change. Uranus brings in this thunderbolt and the shaking up of what is normal and settled. So with Uranus making a square to the moon, we may receive some shocking news as a collective. We get some shocking news as it relates to, just life as we know it. Taurus is this stability, it's earth, it's the traditional way of doing things. And the moon, of course, represents our emotions, but in the sign of Leo, it shows how comfortable we feel with being seen, with being heard, with being recognized. And there, with the square coming in here, where you were bold, where you were feeling bold about making a particular statement or being seen in a certain light, you get some kind of shock that could throw you off kilter, that could unnerve you for a minute, and we have Venus, but what helps the situation, let me say, which I don't have it written here, but I also want to highlight, I have two challenging aspects here, so I want to make sure that I highlight a supportive aspect. So we have Venus in the sign of Cancer making a sextile to Uranus. Venus is here at 9 degrees, making a sextile to Uranus in Taurus. So just as we are getting this shocking information that affects our emotions, that could unsettle our emotions from something that we felt was stable and sure, then we have Venus that helps the situation with making a sextile to Uranus in the sign of Cancer. So Leo, an energy that represents the father, Cancer, an energy that represents the mother, Venus being there, can soothe, right? Because Venus is about diplomacy. Venus is about knowing how to say the right thing or do the right thing at the right time with gentility. And in the sign of Cancer, she knows how to nurture in a situation. She knows how to speak to the situation. So just when you thought you knew what was going on, Uranus brings in this shock because of the sextile to Venus. You know how to diplomatically move in the situation to bring peace, as a good mother knows how to do. How to say the right thing to balance out the situation. And even though she's making a square to Aries, Venus is making a square to Chiron in the sign of Aries. Chiron is at 8 degrees. There is a square here to Chiron. So even though there's a square, there's some shocking information, there is some hurt feelings with Venus making a square to Chiron. There are some hurt feelings that come from the Uranus shocker that comes to the moon. But again, with Venus there making a sextile to Uranus, we can choose, because everything is about a choice. We can choose to move through the situation with diplomacy. We can take a step back and not react in a negative way, because the moon in Leo can be very dramatic, over the top, explode and fall out and say things that you later regret, or do things that you later regret out of your emotion. So if we tap into the Venus energy, making the sextile, then Venus can help us take the situation, turn it on its head, and look at what is positive out of it. Just step back and see what is the positive that is actually coming out of the change, out of the unexpected that you just knew you could count on. I just knew I could count on this person, Taurus. I knew I could count on them to come through for me. And then you find out it's not that way. You know, the Taurus has to do with money. So you were dependent on some money. You were dependent on some money coming from a source that you just knew was solid, and it didn't come through. You know, the people, the person, the thing that you thought, it didn't come through and you thought it would. So here's a shock. But then Venus, who actually rules money as well as she rules Taurus. Venus in Cancer has a better way. Venus in Cancer is able to say, it's okay. It's all right. We'll get it done. It may not come through that avenue, but we'll get it done. We'll get the brilliance sextile with the sextile to Venus. We'll get the brilliance. We'll get the understanding. We'll get the light in the situation and know how to move. All right? So that's what we have for Monday, the 17th. Okay, so Tuesday, August the 18th, this is the day of the new moon in Leo, which is at 26 degrees, making a trine to Mars in Aries at 24 degrees. So I made a full video just on this particular new moon and this aspect. I'll go through all 12 signs. So I'm going to link that video. You can find it below to talk about what is happening on this day. And of course, the new moon. When we have the new moon or the full moon, we're talking about energies that are going to last about 2 weeks. So the energies, what this brings in for you, we're looking at this lasting about 2 weeks. Okay, so I'm not going to say anything else about it. If you want to find out more information, then click on the link and watch the video. Okay, so we are now at Wednesday, August the 19th. And now we have the moon at 5 degrees of Virgo making a trine to Uranus retrograde at 10 degrees of Taurus. So on this day, the moon will meet up exactly with Uranus at 10 degrees before the day is over. And as you notice, if you pay attention to what's happening, the moon continues to be highlighted this week, you know, as she's moving through the signs. First, it was in Cancer. She was going through a hard aspect. Then in Leo, she was going through a hard aspect. But now that she is in Virgo, so by Wednesday, we start feeling some soothing energy coming because she's making an easy aspect with Uranus. So the things and maybe the confusion and the heartache that was happening and the sensitivities that we were feeling, you know, the hurt feelings and we thought something was going to be able to come through, and then there was a shock and it wasn't, and so forth and so on, and then power and stroke controls with the family issues starting on Sunday and then Monday and Tuesday, where we had the energy of the new moon. So now here we are on Wednesday, and now the moon is in Virgo. Even though in Virgo the moon can be very critical, hypercritical, okay? Because Virgo is a very critical sign, is deeply analyzing everything and sometimes overly critical of things and making things harder on themselves by being overly critical. So the moon here can cause us to be that way, but making this trine to Uranus is giving us the insight because Virgo is ruled by Mercury. So this is a thinking sign, and Uranus is a higher octave of Mercury. It's a higher energy of Mercury. So Uranus here is giving us the light and the understanding to what we were going through on Sunday in our emotions. Sunday and Monday in our emotions, where we had the hurt feelings and not understanding what is going on. What I thought was going to be solid was not solid. You know, that was Sunday. And then Monday, the square to Uranus, you know, the shocking information. Sunday was the opposition to Pluto, and, you know, power and control issues happening and feeling like somebody, you know, trying to control me and standing against me and what it is that I want to do, what makes me feel safe and what makes me feel comfortable. Then the shock coming in on Monday, shocking information. And then here we go. We have the new moon on Tuesday, which is a really good energy with the sun and moon together, making this trine to Mars. Is a really good energy. You can watch the video on that. And then here we are. Now we have an understanding. We have more light with Uranus. We have more light. And then our emotions, even we're able to see it analytically, Virgo. We're able to see why there were the power and control issues that were happening on Sunday. Because all these energies are linked. None of them stand alone. So everything that's happening, it does not happen in a vacuum, but it happens in a cycle. One thing feeds into the next, and one thing builds upon the next, and more revelation is given to us as days continue on. So that's what we have here. So now with the moon at 5 degrees, and when it goes up to 10, we'll have that much more light, that much more understanding on what was happening, what hurt our feelings Sunday, Monday. Okay? All right, so that is really the only thing that stands out on Wednesday. Okay, now we are at Thursday, August 20th. So we have one challenging aspect and two really nice aspects. We have Mercury that has ingressed, moved into the sign of Virgo, which Mercury rules the sign of Virgo, and Mercury is exalted in Virgo. So Mercury is the only sign that is exalted, is the only planet. Mercury is the only planet that is exalted in one of his own signs. And so Mercury rules Gemini and Virgo, but Mercury is exalted. So he can do his best. He can operate at his finest in the sign of Virgo because he is able to dig deep. He is able to analyze things on the deepest level. And Virgo is earth. So there is a groundedness associated with Virgo, even though Virgo is a mutable sign, meaning there is a changeability to Virgo. Mercury is able to think on his feet in one of the best ways. He's able to dissect things in the sign of Virgo. When Mercury as it relates to his position in Gemini, he is gathering information. In the sign of Virgo, Mercury is dissecting, taking things apart, looking at the very fine details of things. Then we have the moon being blessed again today. As we talked about, things began to get easier yesterday. Sure enough, it got easier at the new moon. And then we really flowed into some ease on Wednesday, and now even better because the moon is at 19 degrees over here in the sign of Virgo, making a beautiful trine to the big three, to Jupiter and Pluto and Saturn in the sign of Capricorn. And of course, they are still making the square to Mars right here. But the moon, again, everything has been highlighted with the moon. The moon is where we feel safe, where we feel comfortable. The moon is, eating the ice cream and laying on the couch under the big blanket and feeling warm and feeling safe, whatever that is for you. Depends on what moon sign you have, that feeling of safety can be different, but you get my drift. So with the moon making this trine to the big three, there is an expansion, Jupiter, an expansion in this feeling of safety, as it relates to Virgo, as it relates to the thoughts, as it relates to analyzing things and thinking things through. There is an expansion to that, being able to understand things on a heart level, emotionally, where the emotions are not all over the place. Pluto is, there is an understanding of power. There is an equality of power as it relates here. There is an understanding of emotions that I am in my power, Pluto. I am in my power. I'm in my place of power, and I have an understanding of it. Logically, I understand why I am standing in my power and why I am in a safe place with the moon here in Virgo. And then Saturn at 26 degrees brings a stability to this moon in Virgo, a stable feeling, a feeling where I have solid grounding. The earth is still under my feet and I'm good. Okay, so we have that coming, but we do have a small challenging aspect. It's not, not really a painful aspect. We have the moon here in Virgo making an opposition, almost exact. It will be exact that day to Neptune. So Neptune is where we are dreaming. Neptune is where we are in the clouds and planning and drawing down from the spirit realm, tapped into the spirit realm as far as our what do we want to create. Okay, so making this opposition here to the moon, it is the moon understanding that there is no cloud action happening necessarily. With the trine right here, the realization is that the moon comes to within the emotions is that, okay, I'm settled. I realize that it's going to require some more hard work. Things will manifest at the appropriate time. Saturn, the emotions are stable with a logical understanding, not in the clouds, not escaping away to something that is unrealistic. Maybe there was a dream, maybe there was a hope that, the leprechauns were going to leave a bag of money at the front door, so that you wouldn't have to wait, to get that new Lamborghini. But now, with these particular aspects, there is an understanding that you can have the Lamborghini. You can have it, but you can have it in time and in stride and in a grounded way and in a practical way. And more so than that, the moon in Virgo and Mercury in Virgo is going to ask you, do you need the Lamborghini? Would it be better for you to have a Maxima, because of what you need to do? Or would it be better for you to have a Dodge Ram 1500? So that's the moon in Virgo making this trine to Jupiter, Pluto, and Saturn. And with this opposition, just the understanding of the realities of the situation. Okay, just coming right smack in front of you. All right. So that's what we have on Thursday, August the 20th. Okay, so today, Friday, August 21st, we have the moon at 4 degrees of Libra. So with the moon at 4 degrees of Libra, she has moved from Virgo, which is Earth, where there's a lot of critical thinking and so forth, and maybe being overly critical. The moon, which is the emotion, moves into the sign of Libra, where there is this lightness, where there is this airiness that comes up, and able to be more diplomatic and share and be with friends. Now, she is going to, later on in that day, come into an exact opposition with Chiron. And Chiron is in Aries. And with Chiron in Aries, there is, there could be a feeling, some hurt feelings, if you will, with opposition from someone else. Someone else perhaps saying something, maybe a partner or, anyone, saying something that wounds, wounds the self. Aries is the self, the body. And so with the moon standing on, there could be something said that could wound you, that could hurt your feelings, during that opposition. Okay? So that's all that I see standing out for Friday, August the 20th. Okay, so we are now here at Saturday, August the 22nd, and we are officially out of Leo season. The sun ingresses into Virgo and will sit at 0 degrees on the 22nd. So happy birthday to all the Virgos out there. It is now your season beginning on Saturday. And it's a beautiful thing that the sun has now entered into Virgo. Mercury is there. And this is going to help us quite a bit because as the sun and Mercury are in Virgo, they will be making a trine, which is an easy aspect to the big three, Jupiter, Pluto, and Saturn, which are sitting here in Capricorn. See, here's the sun and Mercury. And they will also be making a trine as they continue on and transit forward, make a trine to Uranus in the sign of Taurus. So that eases a lot of tension that we have been feeling from the big three. It helps ground some of the energy. It helps stabilize some of the energy because we're talking about Earth. So it's going to help us as the month continues on and more of the planets in Virgo meet up with the big three and with Uranus, really the big four. So we have the moon challenging Mars in the sign of Aries. So the moon is in Libra at 19 degrees. And I drew this chart for a 12 noon time. So as the day continues on, there will be an exact opposition to Mars in the sign of Aries. And as Mars is in the sign of Aries, there could feel, because the moon has a lot to do with our perception, we could perceive that and feel the moon feelings and feel that someone is being aggressive towards us. You know, we could experience some aggression from someone challenging us, not wanting to necessarily be diplomatic, someone wanting to almost bully, you know, that's extreme, but I mean, that's the feeling that you could have with this particular opposition on Saturday. So it could happen in minor ways. It could happen in big ways that we feel, that we see. We could see it, you know, even on the world stage that um, there is aggression against the people because on the world stage in mundane astrology, although I'm not a mundane astrologer, the moon represents the people, the collective. And so Mars could represent the police and law and the federal police and this sort of thing coming against the people for trying to protest and riot and this sort of thing. We also have the moon being challenged again with a square here in Libra. So the moon is here in Libra at 19 degrees, making a square to Jupiter, Pluto, and Saturn. And so there again is power and control. So at that day, we're looking at Mars, and we're talking about mundane astrology here, or we're talking about the world stage. We're talking about, you know, those who are in power, Pluto and Jupiter and Saturn and Capricorn, those who are in power and who are able to restrict standing against the people, which represents the moon, the public. Saying what you can and cannot do, what you will and will not do, standing against the justice, Libra, standing against justice, standing against what is right, Libra, standing against justice is the main word. Justice is the main word. Standing against justice, you know, those in power, the police, and so forth, standing against what the people feel is justified and what is just, okay? So in our personal lives, we could be feeling that on a smaller scale, that someone is standing against what we feel is right, you know, actions that we feel are right for us, and someone is standing against it, you know, I almost want to say violently, but I want to say passionately, extremely. So these are some really challenging aspects to the moon. So with that, we want to tap in to this Virgo energy, this Uranus energy, where Uranus is here, making this trine to Mercury. And the moon is at 0 degrees, so it's not exactly a trine just yet. But we want to tap into this earth energy, this insight that comes with Uranus and Mercury so that we can make a logical decision so that we can make the best decision and not move out of our emotions, make actions that come from our emotions that could be heated, that could cause us results that we don't want. Because when we move out of our emotions, when we make decisions based on our emotions and our feelings, then oftentimes we have not tapped into what would be the best with Mercury and Uranus. But if we step back for a minute, step back from the heat, because this is going to be heated. This is going to be heated. There's going to be hurt. It's going to be, um, a lot of energy coming against this feeling of justice, and the safety is the moon and the people. But if we are wise, then we step back from the situation. We tap into this energy of Uranus and Mercury. We tap in and we go to the logic. We come out of the emotion and we go to the logic. We lay down, rest, and say, you know what? The end result of me doing that, because they said that, if I jump back, if I snap back, if I clap back, it could be a bad result. So let me just come to the logic. Let me just be quiet. Let me get the higher insight, Uranus. Let me get the light from the spirit, from the ancestors. Let me tap in so that I won't make a decision out of my emotions that I might regret. Thank you for listening. I'm Lateesha with Soul's Bread Wisdom. I hope this bread has been nourishing and satisfying to your soul and absolutely delicious. Please like, subscribe, and share. Leave a comment. I love talking to you. I'm always going to talk back because I want to know what you have going on. I love when you share what you have going on. And I'll talk to you soon. Have a great week. Stay cool, stay chill.